Yo, K-Base Guy here, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're doing part 2 of 5 things wrong with your home theater right now. Now, it may not be wrong in particular, all 5 may not be wrong in your list, but this is meant to give you guys a friendly reminder with your home theater. So what I want you guys to do in the comment section as you guys watch, be honest with me, let me know how many, 1 through 5, how many were wrong in your home theater. Let's get right into it, starting with your speaker wire. Your speaker wires are everywhere, and that's a big no-no. There's 2 main reasons why, maybe 3 main reasons why you want to have your speaker wire and all your wires and cables nice and neat. One, the obvious one, is that it's much more appealing, especially if you have all of your stuff in the front of the room. You don't want to see all the wires everywhere. Number 2 would be organization. It's important to label your wires and your HDMI cables and your speaker cables so that if you have to upgrade something or change something out, it's simple to know where they go. Having all your speakers labeled front left, front right, center, etc., it's easy to unplug them, make your adjustments, and plug them right in. Same thing with HDMI cables. If you have a lot of things plugged up, you know where everything goes. Now, here's one that you may have not thought of. Having all your cables organized could take away some of that electrical interference. It could clean up your sound. What you may not know is when your speaker wires and your RCA cables and your HDMI cables are too close to power wires and plugs, you can introduce some ground noise, some electrical interference in your sound. Some of you guys may hear a hiss in your speakers, and you may be wondering, why do I have that? Well, sometimes it could be that your speaker wire or your RCA cables are too close to your power wires, things that are plugged up. So if you organize those and separate them, you may have a nicer, cleaner sound. Now, let's talk about speakers being too far apart. That's number 4. What's wrong with your system right now is that your speakers are too far or too close together, your main speakers. And what do I mean by main speakers? I mean your front left and your front right speakers. The issue with having them too close is that you have a small, narrow stereo image, meaning you don't have a really big perception of left and right. The audio world says that about 6 feet apart from left speaker and right speaker is a good place to be, a good starting point. You don't really want your speakers to be closer than 6 feet together, or you're going to lose some of your stereo imaging. You're going to lose the ability to hear what's on the left side and what's on the right side. So you need that space to create a bigger sound stage. So if you have your speakers too close, you may want to pull them apart. And vice versa. If you have them too far apart, well, it sounds a little unnatural. Things are a little too wide. They're too far apart. The problem with that is if you have a sequence in a movie where something is panning across the front, it's a huge gap between left speaker and then the center speaker to the next speaker. There's a huge gap in between them, so there's a loss in sound at a certain part of the room. You may want to bring those in to make sure that your movies sound accurate and that your stereo imaging isn't too far apart. The next thing wrong with your home theater right now is your subwoofers. Your volume on your subs are just too loud. And I know everybody loves a good bit of bass, a good bit of rumble when they're watching their movies, and maybe even when you're listening to music. But if you have it too high, you can cause yourself some audible problems. One, if you have it too loud, it's going to be way louder than the rest of the system, and it's not going to sound natural. It's going to be overwhelming. You're going to maybe introduce a little bit of muddiness and even some distortion depending on how high you have it turned. So I like to have my subwoofer turned up a little bit more than what, you know, Odyssey or Anthem Room Correction may recommend, but you don't want to have it too loud to where it's the loudest speaker in the room. Now, what you may not know is if you tune your subwoofers up too loud, you may introduce localization. Localization is when you can hear exactly where that sub is coming from. You don't want to hear where your subwoofer is placed. You want your subwoofer to blend with the rest of the speakers so that the front speakers sound like one giant speaker, not several different speakers placed around the room. If you have your subwoofers too loud, you can actually hear where the subwoofer is placed during certain frequencies, and that can be very distracting. All right, coming in next is your room is not treated. That's the big wrong in most home theaters, is that your room is not treated. It's untreated, and it's super important to treat your room. You can really change the sound for the better if you put some acoustic treatment up in your room. And we're not just talking sound panels, we're talking carpets on bare floors, or bookshelves, or wall art, or curtains, whatever you can do to kind of keep that sound from reflecting on every surface in your room. It'll tighten up the sound. It'll sound so much better. You guys may not realize that putting some acoustic treatment in your room is almost as good as upgrading your equipment. And no speaker will sound good in a badly treated room. You can buy the best speaker ever made and put it in your room, but if the room's not treated, the speaker won't sound good. So sometimes you need to take some of the money that you spend on your home theater and apply it to the room, because the room is the biggest influence on how good or how bad your system will sound. The last one on my list for what's wrong with your home theater right now is that your equipment is outdated. Now, this is a tough one because technology moves so quick. TVs are always changing. There's so many different types of TVs now that you can get. Receivers are upgrading every year, processors too. There's different amplifiers out there. There's so much that changes in such a little time that it's hard to keep up. But sometimes you may be a little too far behind the new age, especially if you're running older HDMI, like HDMI 2.0 or something like that. You have to try to keep up with the main stuff in home theater and visual audio, because if you fall behind, things start to not be compatible with each other. For example, if you have a TV that's 4K, Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision, HDR10 plus, all that good stuff, but your receiver you're powering doesn't feed that same connection, well, you have a really nice TV, but your receiver is holding you back. The problem with falling behind in technology is that as things change, when things start to become not compatible with each other, you force yourself to have to upgrade, or you lose out on a lot of nice resolution, really clean audio. A lot of things change that you have to keep up with. Now, I'm not saying go out there and buy the newest TV or buy the newest receiver, but make sure that you're kind of keeping up with the trends, or you may find your stuff to be really obsolete. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. That's 5 things wrong with your home theater right now. Leave me down 2 comments down below. For comment number 1, out of all of these, which one were you guilty of having wrong? Be honest with us. Which one were you wrong with? Also, and let me know how many of them do you have recommended for us? Leave me a comment down below and tell us how many other tips that you have that may be wrong with people's home theaters that you've noticed. Leave that comment down below, hit that like button, and subscribe if you are not already. We will see you guys in the next video. K-Base Guy out. Peace.